Shalom, everyone. Today we will be continuing on in the Hebrew Word Studies series of Psalm 119. We'll be looking at verse 9, specifically the words cleanse and path. Taking a quick look again at some of the resources that can be used to do a Hebraic word study, we have the Strong's Exhaustive Concordance, the Theological Word Book of the Old Testament, the Ancient Hebrew Lexicon of the Bible by Jeff Benner, a King James Bible. I prefer to use the Scriptures Bible, ISR, the Greek Concordance to the Septuagint by Hatch and Redpath, the Apostolic Bible Polyglot, the eSword, the Englishman's Hebrew and Greek Concordance, Brown Driver Briggs Gesenius, Thayer's Greek Lexicon, the 1828 Webster's Dictionary, the Etymological Dictionaries, one by Klein and one by Hirsch. Looking at our verse in the ISR, we read, "How would a young man cleanse his path? To guard it according to your word." In the King James, we read, "Wherewithal shall a young man cleanse his way? By taking heed thereto according to thy word." So the first word in the verse we'll look at is cleanse. Looking in the front of the Strong's Concordance, in alphabetical order, looking up the word cleanse, because that's the word that's used in the King James, we see at Psalm 119:9, there at the bottom of the picture, our Hebrew word is 2135. Going to the back of the Strong's Concordance, we see that the 2135 is zakah, a primitive root. Compare 2141, to be translucent, figuratively to be innocent. And then we see there in red the colon and the dash, and everything after that is just an English translation of this Hebrew word. Looking in the back of the Theological Word Book of the Old Testament, we find our Strong's number, H2135, goes to number 549 on page 240. Turning to the 549, we read, "Zakah, be clear, clean, pure." Cognate of a zakak, and Akkadian a zaku, used only in poetry and always in a moral sense. The peel means to make or keep clean or pure. The hithpael, to make oneself clean, only in Isaiah 1:16. The term appears twice in Job at 15:14 and 25:4, and both times Job's comforters are asking how a man can be pure in the sight of Elohim. In each verse, zakah is parallel to zadik, be righteous. A similar question appears in Proverbs 20, verse 9, where the admission is made that no one has kept his heart pure and sinless. Those who walk in accord with Elohim's word can live pure lives, however. The psalmist also notes that at times the wicked appear to be happier and more prosperous than the one who keeps his heart pure, Psalm 73:13. But in the end, the wicked are ruined. In Isaiah 1:16, Elohim warns the people of Judah that they must wash and make themselves clean or face severe judgment. So we see in this TWOT that the word has to do with being either righteous or wicked, with being clean or unclean, pure or impure, the latter being wicked, impure, and unclean will lead one to ruin and severe judgment. Looking in the back of the Ancient Hebrew Lexicon, we find our Strong's number again, 2135, goes to 1149 HV. Turning to the 1149 HV, we find that it means at the V to be pure, to be without impurities. At the H is the abstract is pure, and at the two-letter parent root, the 1149, the action is to refine, the abstract is pure, and oil or other substance that is clear and free of impurities. Not only do the words in this root line have to do with being washed, one of the words in this root line also had to do with a furnace. So one way or another, or actually both ways, we are washed and we are purified by the trials, the fiery trials. We're washed in the water of the living word and purified by the fiery trials so that we can be clear and free of impurities. So considering our letters from right to left, we have the Zion, which is a weapon. It can mean food, cut, pierce, scatter, plow, harvest, or tool. We have the Kaf, which is the palm. Can be bend, allow, tame, cover, open, bless. And we have the Hay, which are the raised arms. It can mean look, man, behold, reveal, show, or sigh, to get revelation. So what we see here when we consider being pure, and when we consider the actual, just the verse that we read that said, how would a young man cleanse his path? To guard it according to your word. So we have this weapon, this Zion, that we use to cleanse ourselves. It cuts. It pierces. It's the tool. It's the tool that we have. It's the word of Yah. It's everything from the El to the Tah. And what does it do in cleansing us? It bends us towards His will as opposed to our own will. It tames us to what He has revealed to us through that very word. Now that we've seen our Hebrew word, we've seen what it means, we can go to our Englishman's Hebrew Concordance of the Old Testament, again looking up our Strong's number, H2135, and we can get a list of all the other places this Hebrew word is used. Something we don't get out of the Strong's, because as we can see, even looking at this reference here, sometimes can be clean, it sometimes can say pure, it sometimes can say cleansed, it sometimes can say cleanse. And so in order to get the Hebrew word that all these English words take the place of, this is a great resource for us to find the other verses where it's used. So let's look at one of these places where this Hebrew word is used. Isaiah 1, verses 14 to 20. My being hates your new moons and your appointed times. They are trouble to me. I am weary of bearing them. And when you spread out your hands, I hide my eyes from you. Even though you make many prayers, I do not hear. Your hands have become filled with blood. Wash yourselves. Make yourselves clean. Make yourselves pure. Begin to follow the word, the weapon, and bend your will, tame yourself towards the things that Yah has revealed through that word, that weapon. Put away the evil of your doings before my eyes. Stop doing evil. Stop being dysfunctional. Learn to do good. Learn to be functional. Seek right ruling. Reprove the oppressor. Defend the fatherless. Plead for the widow. Come now, let us chastise, reason together, says Yah. Though your sins are like scarlet, they shall be white as snow. Though they are red like crimson, they shall be as wool. If you submit and obey, you shall eat the good of the land. But if you refuse and rebel, you shall be devoured by the sword, for the mouth of Yah has spoken. And so we see that we get a choice. Submit and obey to Elohim, or refuse and rebel. And there's a consequence for each one. Considering Revelation 19:21, speaking of those that would continually refuse and rebel, and the rest were killed with the sword which came from the mouth of him who sat on the horse, and all the birds were filled with their flesh. They were killed with the sword, with the weapon, with the word, because they didn't obey it in the first place. Physical death? Absolutely. Spiritual death? Absolutely. Submit and obey to the word, or refuse and rebel against it. So I want to take a quick look back at the word cleanse in this verse. We see that right after the 2135, we have an H853, which is the El Tah. We all know what the L taw is. Ya. The L taw is everything from the L to the taw. It is everything from the beginning to the end. Not just the beginning and not just the end, but the beginning to the end and everything in between in its proper order. So everything that is used to cleanse us, that from Yah's word, that bends our will to that revelation, must be in its proper order from the L to the taw, from beginning to end. You can't pull something out of the middle and say it's something other than what it is. It has to be in its proper order, just like it was when he first breathed it. It doesn't just have to do with the pictographs, though it has everything to do with the pictographs. It has everything to do with everything being in its proper order. All the parts and all the pieces have to be tob. They have to be functional, just like we just read. They can't be evil. They cannot be dysfunctional. It has to be in the proper order to function. Here we see the L to the taw. The L being the ox, being El himself. The taw being the cross sticks, being the completion, being the end, being the marriage covenant. Everything must be in its proper order in order for us to be in the marriage covenant. The first resurrection and the bride leading to the marriage. Those that will come second resurrection, written in the Lamb's Book of Life, will have to be in the same proper order in order to even be there to witness the wedding. Looking at the next word in the verse that I want to look at, we read in the scriptures that it's the word path, and in the King James that it's the word way. We see in the Strong's Concordance, when we look up the word way, it is the Hebrew 734. Going to the back of the Strong's to the Hebrew Chaldee Dictionary, we see the 734 is ahrak from 732, a well-trodden road, literally or figuratively, also a caravan. Turning to the Theological Word Book of the Old Testament, we see in the back of the book at Strong's number 734, it goes to 161a in this resource. We find 161 on page 71, and I'm just going to read a little bit of it. Orah, way, path. Although the word appears 58 times in the Old Testament, 45 of them are limited to 3 books. Proverbs 19 times, Psalms 15 times, Job 11 times. Most often, Orah is used in a figurative way, describing the way to life or to death. It often is parallel with the word derek, meaning way, lifestyle. Teach me your way, derek, O Yah, and lead me in a plain path, Orah. Do not enter the path, Orah, of the wicked, nor go in the way, derek, of evil men. The contrast is between the way of sin and death and the way of obedience and life. These exhaust the options available to man. Man makes his own choice, but he cannot choose his own consequences. The path of life corresponds with the path of integrity, the path of uprightness, the path of justice, the path of righteousness. Conversely, one is to spurn the path of evil, for it is a false path. To follow the path of truth and life is to follow Elohim's own path, where the word is a synonym for Elohim's Torah would be at Psalm 119, verse 115. The way which one chooses determines one's destiny. There is such a thing as the road of no return. Job 16:22. And there is more in here to read. I thought those were some really profound ways of putting this, that we are on this path that goes down the road, down the direct. The prescribed path goes down the direct, and the direct is the way. And the way, actually, the first time that word is used is when The sword, the flaming sword, is put at the garden to guard the way back. Turning to the ancient Hebrew lexicon, we see our 734 in the back of the book goes to 1445 CG. Turning to the 1445 root line, we see at the CG there at the bottom, the G is a path, the road one travels. We see at the C, the action is to travel, the concrete is a caravan, one who follows a prescribed path to arrive at a specific destination. The 1445 is the resh het, ruch, action travel, concrete path. The pictograph resh is a picture of the head of man. The het is a picture of a wall that separates the inside from the outside. Combined, these mean man outside. The responsibilities of the nomad outside of the tent include the feeding, watering, and caring for the livestock. Livestock are healthier and more productive when on a routine. Therefore, the man follows a routine or prescribed path each day when caring for his livestock. So, as many of you may know, this is where we get our word ruach, spirit, wind, breath of man, or Elohim. We also see here at the CV, the V underneath there, that was where our 734 came from. When we saw one of the definitions in the Strong was a caravan. And so we see that we should be following this prescribed path. We are the livestock. If you're leading the livestock, you should be following the same prescribed path and teaching the rest of the sheep, the rest of the livestock to follow the prescribed path. We should, as cattle, we should be in the yoke, as the Hebrews thought, with Yah, their Elohim, and be yoked together and following his every lead. And so this path, we should be traveling that together as a company, as a mishpachah, looking to get to that specific destination, which would be going down the narrow road through the narrow gate to the marriage covenant in the end. So we see the letters in this word are the El, the Wa, the Resh, and the Het. We see that it came from a word which was just an El, a Resh, and a Het. The Wa may or may not have been in here. It's what we have today, and that's kind of what we're going to stick with. Ahrak, Ohrak. It seems like just a pronunciation thing. However, we have an El, a Wa, a Resh, and a Het. The El being the ox, the strong, the power, the leader, the yoke. The Wa, the tent peg, add, secure, hook, join, and pierce. Resh, head of man. First, top, beginning, think, top, sum. And the Het, the fence, outside, half, divide, protect. And so we saw that how would a man cleanse his path? By guarding the word of Yah. He was going to be yoked to El himself, everything from the El to the Taw, yoked to the lead ox following his lead, so that there would be security to the head of man, taking him back to where it was in the beginning, so he could be inside the house as opposed to outside of the house. Inside the fence as opposed to outside of the fence. It's one way or it's the other. Just like this word talked about. It's sin and death or obedience and life. We get to choose, but we don't get to choose the consequence. We get to choose if we're going to be of the spirit of Elohim or if we're going to be of a different spirit. Again, it's always good to look in the Englishman's Hebrew Concordance of the Old Testament to find the other places that this same Hebrew word was used throughout the Tanakh. So let's look at two of the places where this word is used. Psalm 25, verses 1 through 5. To you, O Yah, I lift up my being. O my Elohim, in you I have put my trust. Let me not be ashamed like a dried up seed. Let not my enemies exult over me. Indeed, let no one who waits on you be ashamed. Let those who are treacherous without cause be ashamed. Show me your ways, your direct. This is the word yada. Cause me to intimately know the way. He's the way, the truth, and the life. Cause me to intimately know the way. O Yah, who is him? Teach me the prescribed path, being yoked to you, that I should be on in the caravan, on the way back to the beginning. Lead me in your truth. Everything from the L to the Ta that causes the blood, the seed line to continue, comes in between the L and the Ta in its proper order. And teach me, for you are the Elohim of my deliverance. On you I wait all the day. Turning to Proverbs 12:28. In the way, the orek, the prescribed path that we are to follow, of Zedekiah, is chai, is life. And in its dahrek, in the way, in Yah who came to rescue us, fully and completely in him, there is no death. Eternal death or eternal life comes from guarding, keeping the word of Yah the way that he has revealed it. Not our way, but his. And a reminder to each and every one of us. Proverbs 2 verses 4 and 5. If you seek her as silver and search for her as hidden treasure, then you would understand the fear of Yah and find the knowledge of Elohim. Hallelujah and Shalom.